Hey yo, what's good, people? What it do? It is your boy Kevin Wright, aka Kev on Mission, coming in with another video for you. Before I get into what I'd like to talk about, let's talk about the housekeeping rules as always. Number one, first and foremost, if you listen and watch any way you ingest this video and you appreciate what you hear, you're encouraged by what you hear, do me a huge favor and share that with somebody else. Please don't be selfish, because if this thing spoke to you, there's somebody else that needs to be aware that this type of content is available for them. So please make them aware by sharing. Also, please give this video a like. Also, let's interact in the comment section. Also, subscribe, hit that bell, ring the bell so you can get all them notifications. All of these things are helpful in spreading the life of the channel. Now that I've said that, we're going to go ahead and get right on into it. So today, first I want to give you a little bit of a backstory on how this particular conversation is going to be inspired, because I had a conversation with a friend recently and they were mentioning some areas of conversations that they had had with individuals who they had around them. And as they were telling me about certain aspects of these conversations, I was reminded about various seasons of life where I've encountered the types of folks that I'm getting ready to talk to you about. Now, I also want to give a preface with this, because we are in a time frame right now where a lot of folks, particularly in the body, we're learning more about connection. So terms like vulnerability get thrown out a lot. You hear a lot about, wanting to build real relationships. All of these things are dope things, and anybody who knows me knows I'm a proponent. Like, I'm about real deal relationship within the body of Christ. I'm about being intentional to not just pursue, but to keep intact real relationships. So this particular subject matter that I'm about to talk to you is one of the ways that you can help keep relationships intact. These are also ways to make plain who you is and who you ain't. Now that I've said that, let's go ahead and get into it, shall we? So, as a result of that conversation, I even remembered posting something on my personal Facebook page where I simply mentioned the fact that it is okay to decline if somebody asks you a personal question that you are not comfortable answering. Like I said, in this time where we're talking about how to connect and we talk about being vulnerable, now let's be clear. Let's talk about what vulnerability means. By definition, vulnerability, specifically when it comes to building relationships, that means you are putting yourself in the position to where you could be hurt. It's not a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It just is what it is. And it's also necessary in real relationships. Like, you have to put yourself out there. Now, the who is a different story. And that's a little bit of what I'm going to cover. Because again, vulnerability is a real necessary tool. Now, I'm going to clear something up really quickly. Vulnerability is putting yourself in a position where you could be hurt. Vulnerability and oversharing are two different things. Vulnerability, quote unquote, that is coerced by manipulation is not vulnerability. Just like in a natural dating relationship, right? Sex that is brought by force is rape. Okay? We're not playing these games. If somebody said no, they meant no. It don't matter what you thought about. It don't matter what you desired. If they told you no, back your tail up, lock it down, clink, clink, leave it be. So if they told you no, You cannot have access, access denied, and you attempt to force access after you are told you cannot, you in the wrong. That's all that needs to be said. Because in the same way, you have people who try to force access to sexual intimacy, the same way people try to force access to relational intimacy. Now, again, and also let's make it a little bit more clear. Family is included. The immediate family, distant family, it don't make a difference. Just because you bear the title of immediate family by blood, that does not mean that every question is entitled to an answer. And when it comes to everybody else, just because you are curious does not entitle you to an answer. Any healthy relationship dynamic, you should not have to coerce someone into sharing things with you. If someone tells you they are not ready, if somebody says, we need to wait and see before I talk to you personally about this, you need to respect the fact that they've made you aware they did not want to talk about this with you. And it needs to be left at that. Mature people, right, understand. If somebody says, I'm not wanting to have this conversation with you, I'm not going to answer this question. Mature people understand that, okay, cool. I can respect that you're either not ready, whatever it is, and we're going to leave it be. Now, I also said in this same post, these are the reasons why I would refuse to answer a personal question. Number one, you have a propensity to gossip. And just so we is clear and we on the same page, gossip is defined by somebody who likes to talk about people's personal lives, personal private lives. If you are a person who gets your kicks out of talking about other people's private lives, I am not going to be next in line so you can talk about mine nor anybody else that I know. Because anybody who knows me well, when it comes to somebody's personal private life, if you attempt to extract information from me, my response is going to be, if they haven't told you, I will not. You don't come to me asking about nobody. People know good and well in this stage. Do not come to me asking me about nobody else's business. If they ain't told you, it means you don't need to know. And the fact that you coming to me and not the person directly, that's already a telltale sign that you finna take it and run and tell that to 500 different people anyway. And that causes a whole lot of unnecessary damage, which your ignorant behind ain't got to deal with. And yes, I said you ignorant. If you think it's okay to run around and spill people's tea, you ignorant, you're immature, childish, all the above. That ain't cool. That's not acceptable. So if I know that's a category you fall in, the answer is going to be no. We're not going to talk. And also, to take it one step further, slander specifically is for you people who like to talk about people knowing that the stuff you saying about people is not true. If you fall into that category, you will not be getting anything from me. Again, if this is something I have observed, and mind you, if you attempt to try it with somebody else in my presence, I'm going to say, wait, so-and-so's not here. This is not a conversation that needs to be had. All that kind of stuff. I've had people try to come to me about people's personal stuff, and I'm like, wait, that's not your business to tell. This ain't got nothing to do with avoiding reality, because someone did actually try to tell me I was trying to avoid reality by not wanting to hear about somebody's situation. I made it very clear to them that's not that I didn't want to hear about their situation. I didn't want to hear about their situation from you, because their situation is not your business to be spreading. Let's be very clear. There's a difference between avoiding reality and having the trust of somebody to come and make you aware of a situation that they didn't have to. And at this point, before I go further, I want to stop and say these are the reasons why I'm so proactively opposed to these types of things, because anyone who understands that people do not owe you access I am not owed access to the people who have given me access to their personal lives and other things. You are not owed access for any reason. If somebody trusts you enough to open up and actually be authentically vulnerable and share, that is an honor and a privilege, one that should not be taken lightly. All of these things I'm going to mention are things that make me aware that you don't understand the value of actually trusting or being trusted in. Now, moving forward, the next area that would cause me to refuse to answer a personal question is that you get your kicks out of humiliating people in public or in private or anywhere, period. Real friends do not humiliate friends, period, point blank, end of conversation. It don't make no difference if we in public. It don't make no difference if we in private. It don't make no difference where we are. Real friends do not get their kicks out of humiliating friends. If you get your kicks out of humiliating people, first and foremost, you are not a friend. And you will definitely not be a friend of mine, because I am not okay with anyone who does that. And anybody who knows me well knows I will stand between someone who wants to humiliate and another individual who very well could get humiliated by an action. I'm not okay with that. You're that type of person, asking personal questions will get shut down. Moving right along. The next thing that would cause me to say I decline to answer your question when it comes to a personal question is you're one of these three things. You're dishonest, you're disingenuous, or you are dangerous. Any of them three. If you are not a truthful individual, why in the world would I open up and trust you? Because ain't no telling what you finna do with what happens. Like I said, number one, propensity to gossip. 9 times out of 10, you probably got 5 or 6 folks in mind that you waiting to spill the tea to anyway. That's not okay. And if you're not an honest person in general, if you have a habit of lying, and if you have a habit of putting on masks, and ain't no way in the world nobody finna tell you nothing. So you can just mess around and play games with it. Number two, you are disingenuous. That also ties with being dishonest, because you're just not a genuine individual. There is no reason for somebody to instill their trust in you, because you have proven to not be genuine with people. So again, now number three, dangerous. You're flipping your course. You really don't care about how your actions affect other people. You really don't care about the fact that what you're saying or doing could be causing harm, especially when you attempt to hide behind your love of the Lord, and you use your love of the Lord to avoid loving your neighbor as yourself. Bump that. And let me give you an example, because some of y'all probably watching this like, wait, Kevin, what do you mean? I mean this. I mean that you have done wrong by somebody, and you understand you can go to the Lord, and the Lord is gracious and merciful, which is great and beautiful, and He is quick to forgive. And we as people understand we should not be walking around harboring offense and bitterness and all of that. That's not what I'm saying. We do need to walk in forgiveness. Also, let's be clear, walking in forgiveness does not make a person devoid of having to be accountable for their actions. So let's talk about that. So that being said, if you think you can go before the Lord, and then because of the guilt and shame that you may have felt because of the action that you committed, you think now that you don't have to go back and make right, repent, repair, that's dangerous, among other things. So let's leave it at that. The next reason I will say no to answering the personal question, you're manipulative, you are controlling, or you operate from a double standard. Any of them things, I'm going to be like, no, no. Especially, again, let's circle back to vulnerability, because vulnerability is a word that is often used now when we talk about leading with vulnerability. We talk about having a lifestyle of vulnerability, again, because real deal vulnerability does allow for deep connection and deep relationship. And there's a difference between asking somebody to be vulnerable with you and trying to force your way into an area somebody simply is not ready to give you access to. If you try to use vulnerability and all these other things to try just because you want something specific out of somebody, you're manipulative. That also makes you dangerous. Like I just said, that's one of them things. That's not cool because you're really not concerned about the heart of the person you're begging and pleading for them to quote unquote be vulnerable with you. You really just trying to get an edge on. More than likely, you're very highly insecure and you're just looking to get a one up on somebody. So you want to use words like being vulnerable and attempting to force opening up so you don't have to feel so bad about your current state and you want to use their weaknesses to your advantage. That's wicked and evil and ain't got no kind of place. That foolishness need to go. You're controlling. You just like to have control of a situation. You think you can blackmail somebody. You think you can threaten somebody with certain stuff. You are you're looking for a reason to be able to threaten somebody because you intimidated by the foolishness that you've actually got hidden. So your goal is to try to find dirt on other people so that you don't look so bad when your issues are in front of you because you realize other people have certain issues and you like to play this all inclusive game, but I won't get too far into that right now. And again, last one, you operate with a double standard. Double standards simply aren't cool. You treat people one way according to how they act, but if you act the same way, you want to act like you walking on water and everything's fine, but you want to berate and belittle the people for the same thing. Again, let's go back to highly insecure. You've probably been belittled, berated. Somebody probably has wrongfully convinced you to hate things about you that you are still fighting not to hate. So you think you're going to take out those same attributes when you see them in other people. That's a double standard. That's a no-no. Leave that kind of foolishness alone. Lastly, you're nosy. Because again, mature people understand that if somebody asks you a question or you ask somebody a question and they decide not to answer, you have a right not to answer, and I or anybody else has a right not to answer. Maturity will say, okay, I can respect where they're at, and that's where they are. And also, let me make something else abundantly clear. If you are on the receiving end of a question, that does not give you a jerk license. Now, again, like I said, all those things I've just talked about, those escalate the process, right? Because those are red flags. Those are things where it's like, those will be met with force and those will be met with firm. Those will be met with rebuke because those things are absolutely unacceptable. However, in a general sense of somebody asking a question, when mature people ask a question, mature people understand that, again, this person may not want to. So they'll usually proceed with, do you mind if I ask? Is it okay if we talk about? And even the response, okay, I understand you're not ready for that now. It's cool. If you ever are ready, I'm here. All those type of things to let somebody know I actually care about you in this situation. So there's that mature factor getting into the question. Plus, what also will be met with force and rebuke in the whole 9 yards is some questions you know good and dang well they inappropriate. It's inappropriate to ask a married couple what their sex life is like. I don't care what world you come from. Like, that's not okay. That's an example. And yes, I have witnessed people ask married couples those very types of questions. That's inappropriate. That's something that needs to be immediately shut down. Alright? It is inappropriate to ask about deeply personal things about somebody that you would have had to have been there, things that go on with people's face. Like, no. I'm not finna get into all the listing, but understand that there are many certain questions that are inappropriate. Also, let's put it this way, a personal thing, because I know some of you come from the age, myself and other friends will agree, it's not okay to ask somebody how much money they make and expect them to tell you. If somebody chooses to share that information with you, it's cool. But somebody's salary and all of that is really none of your business. If they don't choose to share that information with you, you don't need to be out here acting crazy. Those are just a few things. So, those are a few thoughts that I wanted to share with y'all about helping to build this bridge and to understand that part of building genuine connections is letting people know when they have crossed the line and asking certain questions and making it very clear and very concise that you will not be answering in the whole 9 yards. So again, like I said in the beginning, if this is helpful to you, share this with somebody else. Don't be selfish. Hop in them comments and let's dialogue. And also, if you got testimonies, maybe shoot me an email, kevonmission 2.0, kevonmission 2.0 at gmail.com. Also, like, subscribe, ring the bell. Let's get it going. All right, now, see y'all soon. Peace.